Uh, Good afternoon, students. We'll start your class exactly 31. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll wait for one and a half minutes, then start your class. Uh, okay, ma. What we'll do, we'll start your class anyhow. So the first thing is I'm asking you guys, please don't unmute your mic. Okay. If you have any queries, then only you raise your hand and you start talking. The next is how many of you are using mobiles to listen to your class? Please don't use mobiles. You have to buy a laptop or a PC, personal computer. I mean, if you are not financially sound, right? Please buy at least some kind of a good PC, okay, which comes around 25,000, 30,000. So try to attend all your classes, okay, using either laptop or the PC. That's my request from my side. Okay. Right. So uh, before start your class, right? So I want you people to know how to register for this online GDP, right? So I already posted this. So what you can do is just click on this. Okay. If you click, right, it will ask you to join. So use a Google Plus. Okay. Then use your official mail ID. Okay. This is my snr.csc@kidsw.ac.in. Select it, right? Then I will appear. Okay, you go to one of your classrooms, whatever it was, right? So view all. If I do it right, I will be present in it. See, I don't want this to be happen. Okay, so don't keep your names. This I'm removing all this again. You please do this first. Okay, I already told you don't use names. You have to use. So it should not come like this. If it is coming automatically, there is a problem. Actually, I already registered, right? So that's why it came directly from. Okay, so you at least your what you call official mail ID has to come appear here. Your official mail ID looks like this. So you ask few of the so many of you are registered here, right? Please explain them the way you have done. Okay, with the rest of other 25 students registered here, right? 25 means minus one. 24 registered. Okay, so please explain the rest of other guys who is facing an issue. And see, this is A1, it's not AI, right? So 20 also do re-register. Okay, ma. So please register like this. So whenever I post any kind of an assignment, right? What I'll do, I'll do add assignment. Okay, then write all the things, okay, and keep the due date here. I'll select the language as a C language. I save it and publish it. When I publish it, what happens? It will come to you with a mail also. Okay, via mail. You have to just click that link, whatever it comes through your mail, right? It will open like this. Okay, it comes like this. Okay, then you select language as a C. By default, it comes as a C because I select the language as a C when I prepare my questions, right? So this is an example question is there. So you just run this. It runs here like this and gives you output. This is how you can do it. You write all your programs, whatever I posted. Not only this is only for the questions related to your PPSC lab only. Okay, don't bang on only the programs that I am giving it. Okay, there are so many programs available. Okay, in your textbooks. Okay, so go through chapters, individual chapter. Whenever it is completed, go to a chapter, understand your concepts. If you have not understood your concepts, write down in a notebook. Okay, in the next class you have to ask those questions. So once you complete your chapter, what you guys has to do, you have to go to the exercise. Okay, so once you go to the exercise, there will be lot of questions will be there. You have to practice all those things. Remember that. If you don't do practice that way, you never become a good software engineer. Remember, I'll show you. This is my D drive. Okay, the way I'll practice my programs. So this is the software program. So throughout my say it's Warangal, right? I've done so many programs. CPP, you can count here 63. This is a normal program. The lab programs, these are the outside programs. Lab day one, you will be having so many. Lab day two, you will be having so many like this up to 12. Then apart from this, generally I'll do practice of the program. Please don't unmute. Okay, rule number 48. Don't unmute yourself. And like this, you have to practice. Okay, C programs also you can see arrays related programs, new programs. There are so many other programs that I have written. Okay, arrays related programs are here. Functions related programs, dynamic memory allocation related programs, files related programs. Like this is only C program. You can have a DBMS also. DS with C, I have so many programs. This is a kind of the test I'll practice basically with the test naming. So these are the C++ programs. DS C++ program. So each program will be very big. Okay, I will show you the example how big it is. Program trees. These many lines of code will be there. So almost 600. Okay. So these kind of programs you are going to study. So to do these kind of programs, what you have to do? You have to have a good practice of your typing and all. If you don't know typing, you can't type these many lines of code. So almost every program will be like that in DS data structure. Okay. So this is around 243. So all these programs I have typed. I've never taken or borrowed from anyone. So you can see the date where I done this. Really is mentioned, right? So this is example of a DS programs. Java, there will be so many programs are there. Example programs only. I practiced so many. See, almost 122 programs I practiced. Okay, so the individual lab day programs also will be there. 5 CSE one, I mean this is advanced Java programs. Each one folder will be having so many programs. 3 CSE two, I mean current programs. Okay, 80 were there. Currently I'm teaching. So in 2020, all these will be there. See, 2020. So I used to type all this. I mean, even if you are interested in learning Java, right? You can open CourseWeb and go to my things if your accessibility is there. Learn Java. So very important to learn in a proper way all the programs. Okay. Getting. So this is how you have to practice. I mean, just I'm showing how best that you can practice. Okay. So I'm expecting everybody to buy textbooks. I have C++ textbooks also. This is a Richie textbook. Okay. problem is. So so chapter wide. Okay, this chapter wide, you have to go here. See, you have to start from here, study each and every line, understand, try to understand all the programs. Okay. So when you in this Richie book, okay, you don't have any exercise problems, but individually they given in between exercise. So you should be in a position to solve all these things once you have studied that particular uh, headings. Okay. So once you complete this, you should be in a position to solve this. If you are not able to solve this, that shows that you are not understood whatever you studied. Okay. So when it comes to Balaguru Swami, see your textbooks, typical textbooks looks like this. This is written by me. Okay. So there will be some kind of exercise will be there at the end. See, so this is a textbook I have written actually. So typical textbooks looks like this. Okay. So there will be some kind of compulsory exercises will be there. See, you have to solve these exercises. I have printed up to this I think, and your actual C starts from. So if you go to the next C at the end of this chapter, right? Second chapter. See, this this is the kind of the exercise I have given. So you should be in a position to do all this exercise. Okay, ma'am. So once you studied the complete chapter in and out, go to the exercise, understand what the problem it is given, try to solve this using your program. Okay, don't study it and do it. If you study it, you will not understand. Okay, I'll let you know when once you actual C programming starts. Okay, that's how the expectations from my side. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please let. See, if you have a big problem to be desperate to your faculty, right? Don't message me. Okay? If you message me, I can't type it. You just call me. It's a very easy conversation. Typing into WhatsApp is a big, it takes a lot of time. Okay? And that too, explaining your complete problem. Okay, right. So, okay, if you don't have any queries, then we'll move to your class. Talk about. So what we were discussing, I mean, as part of your PPSC theory, we are talking about the introduction to computers, right? So yesterday, I was talking about what is a computer. Do anybody knows what is a definition or a full form of a computer? You Google it. I mean, it will come in full form. Okay. Computer stands for Common Operating Machine purposely used for technological and educational research. That's what a computer means. Okay, what it is? A common operating machine purposely, okay, used, okay, for technological and educational research. That's what your computer. Basically, it is a machinery used to solve your real world problem. Okay, that's how it is. And coming to your complete theory, so well, I have started explaining in a vague way, like how your computer works, what it will do for you. Okay, then I was discussing about your basic computer system and its characteristics also. We discussed what are its characteristic, the speed, accuracy. What do you mean by speed? How you measure the speed of a computer? And accuracy means what? What is the definition of accuracy? What is the definition of consistency? How your computer is very different from human beings and all, right? So in these two contexts, we discuss that. Storage capacity. I mean, what do you mean by storage capacity? Where you store your programs and how to measure the size of your different kinds of the storage devices and all. To discuss that. Right? Then flexibility in time consumption. So these are the characteristics of your computer. These are simple theories. Okay? You can. It's awful to explain all this stuff basically because it's a default things has to be there with everybody. Realistic as me is concerned. Okay? Right. Then we discussed about the types of computers. Okay? What is a supercomputer? What is a mainframe computer? Okay? What is a mini computer, the workstation, personal computer? What is the difference between your supercomputer, mainframe computers? Okay? And what is the difference between workstation and your personal computer? Also, we discussed. Next, actual topic. This is what it is. I mean, block diagram of a computer. Okay? We discuss types of computers. Then we have to go to a block diagram. This is what it's talking. It is your block diagram of a computer. What is talking about? I'll let you know in a vague way, right? Your sorry. Your input unit will be there. Okay, you have the kind of ALU where control unit will be there. You have memory device. Okay. Actually speaking, this is called as a CPU. Okay. Then your output unit will be there. Your input outputs will have to so in order not to write this way, what they have done, they bundled this to a single and made like this. Okay. That's how that's what it's mentioned. See, right? So this is here. This memory is talking about your main memory and secondary memory. Two kinds of the memories. Then outside, okay, you have the other kind of memory. Okay, it's called tertiary memory. This is the kind of the olden days stuff like your tapes they used to do. So these tertiary storage kind of devices used to do backup of your. Nowadays, everything is comes. I mean, they treat everything as a part of your second, like your pen drives. Okay, that's all. Okay, we'll talk about these things in detail. How it looks like, what is the functionality of each and everything. Okay. Right. So here, you guys has to understand what is the input. Input devices are like your keyboard, right? So your if you have the smart phone or some kind of stuff is there, there is a kind of the inputs called event, okay? Click event. Those are also the kind of the input that you can give with your fingertips. Okay? So that also input. What is an output devices? Whatever you use your computer to decipher and it will process it, right? It will give you the output. That output will come as a, onto your screen or it can go to your printer also. So those are the kind of the output devices. Now your main functionality will lies into this. Okay? ALU, control unit and memory. So we'll discuss about those things in detail. What is the ALU? ALU is
Arithmetic logical unit.
yes, arithmetic and
Logical unit.
logical
Unit.
unit. Okay. So what it will do? So it will do your main arithmetic related scientific computation. Please mute. Your main all arithmetic related computations. Okay. All computations or the logical computations will be done by this. Okay. Okay. So next is you have, after ALU, you have control unit. It's a kind of a hybrid unit basically. Okay. Why it is called a hybrid unit? Because it involves in hardware and software to work. Okay. So what it will do, it controls, okay, the flow of information from operating system to your CP. Okay. This is the guy who handles your complete control of your internals of your PC. Okay. So it gives a signals to your different hardwares to work. Okay. It gives a different I mean, see, if you want to into your computer, right? So who will take those things? That will go into, first it will go to a memory. So who will take that whatever you written from memory to your control unit? It will be controlled, okay, governed by your control unit. Your operating system instructs, okay, your control to do this. How it will do? It will convert. See, operating system acts as an interface between user like you, okay, and your machine. Okay, this is kind of OS will do it. So you cannot access directly with your machine, or you cannot directly. So because why? Because the language understood by, okay, your machines are very different. Okay, understand? That's why you need some kind of a interface to have a communication. Olden days, the scientists used to do what? What are the machines they have? It's a very big in nature. Okay, it's almost your computers. Olden days used to be very one kind of a big room. Okay, so how they used to do? They used to have a punched cards. Okay, and they used to code every information in terms of a machine language. Okay, it's called a binary. They used to type in a binaries, and those punch cards they used to keep into some kind of a machine. So that machine, okay, there is will be some kind of a interface to give an input to that kind of a big computers. So it reads the punch cards, okay, it understands what is there and process the instruction. So every time they want to do some kind of a operation to be performed on the computer, they used to do a lot of hard work in understanding or converting their ideas into machine language. So it takes a huge amount of time. So in order to overcome that, right, the scientists invented a, there is an interface is required between us and a machine. That's why they invented operating, okay, to control, to act as a bridge between user and a computer. Okay. So, and nowadays it's doing a lot of other stuff. Your operating system is handling your so many resources, managing your resources, and allocating a resource for processes, right? So that's how. I mean, olden days the computers were dedicated machines. Basically, it used to run only one application. Okay. Nowadays, there's multitasking because of the multitasking nature. Okay. They used to run so many programs, okay, at a time, due to even architectural changes. Due to architectural changes, what kind of architectural changes that comes into the nowadays computers is various cores. Cores came into single C. Okay. Cores means, I mean, octa-core. That's what you were talking about. Octa-core machine, okay, dual core machine. What do you mean by octa? 8. Okay. So there will be 8 cores. What do you mean by cores? CPUs. Okay. So 8 CPUs will be there. These 8 CPUs will be under the control of your operating system. Dual core means 2 CPUs. Okay. So why they have all these things? Because if a work has to be done, that work is divided into so many modules, that is, and these so many modules are independent of each other. If they are independent of each other, there is no point in executing this after this, after this, after this. They can be executed in parallel. Let's say they invented these kind of a octa-core machine. Your supercomputers will be involved in so many cores. That's why they become so powerful to decipher what are the information the end user requires. They do it very fast. So that's how. I mean, you guys will understand all these things as going forward. Right. So this is how your operating system functionality will help in executing your program. Whenever you start executing your program, what happens? Your operating system allocates memory. Okay, what is the kind of memory? It is a main memory. Okay, main memory also called as a RAM, random access. Into the random access memory also is divided into two parts. One is the system memory, other one is the user memory. In system memory, your operating system will be stored into it. How who do this? Whenever you switch on the PC, right? I already told you there is a so many kinds of the memory server that you are going to study going forward. There is a ROM, read only. Okay. Into this, you have bootstrap loader. So bootstrap loaders will get started loaded into here, okay, and they start finding where your I mean, this bootstrap loader will come to know where is your actually operating system stored into hard disk. Okay. Then from there it picks and loads your complete operating system into system RAM, okay, system storage space of your RAM. Then it handles its control of your computer complete PC to your operating. Then the operating system starts. That's how it works. Now that's what the OS will do. What the OS will do, whatever you do it, right? So it converts all the instructions or whatever it has to be do by your CPU, not exactly the CPU, it's a control unit. Instruct the control unit to handle all the signals. So it will inform, okay, your ALU to do perform its operation. So all scientific operations will be done by your ALU. Okay, your control unit will do what? It controls various hardware devices by giving a hardware or software. Okay, that's what the overall look and feel of your computer. Okay. So I hope you guys understood what is the input, what is the output. ALU is a kind of ALU. It's a CPU. It's called, I mean, vaguely called as a CPU. It has its own registers. Okay. Registers means small memory units. Okay. It kind of what you call made up of cells. Okay. So even your memory, what is the RAM that you're talking about, ROM, all are made up of registers. This kind of. So it can store one kind of a word. Whenever it has to execute, your CPU or ALU has to execute any program, right? What are the variables that is required for it will be stored into registers. Then uh, why it stores into registers? Because the registers are very fast accessible memory. It is very fast even compared to your RAM. RAM is too fast even compared to the hard disk. Okay. So out of all the memory that you have in your PC, hard disk is very slow. Okay. The next fastest memory location is the RAM. Okay. The very fastest is your register. And out of all the hardware, okay, which is the very fastest is your super fast. Okay. So that's why you require some kind of interfaces which maps with the speeds of your ALU. That's why they invented your register. So it stores some kind of a values, okay, so that what are the values that it uses very frequently that stores those kind of values into register. There is another kind of a memory called cache. Okay, cache is again intermediate between, okay, your registers and your RAM. So which are the programs that used very frequently will be stored into cache. So whenever it starts executing your instructions of your any kind of a process, right? Your CPU first checks cache memory. If that instruction is there present into cache, it executes it. Okay, that's called hit based. Okay, hit means it found the instruction. If it is a miss, what it will do? It will look into your RAM. Again, if it is a miss in a RAM, what it will do? It will find where it is in a hard disk. So from hard disk, and it will fetch that instruction, keeps into RAM. So and then starts again. After keeping a RAM again, it will fetch and keep into mostly into cache, okay, and starts again. This is how the flow will happen inside your computer. Okay. So you guys can go through it. What is a memory? Why you use memory? So overall, how your CPU executes over. Sorry. So how your CPU executes your programs first, okay, it will load process, your process into main memory. Okay, so your CPU always interacts with the RAM. Okay, so who loads that into memory? It will be there in a hard disk base. Okay, so it will, your operating system will instruct, okay, your control unit to do it. Okay, then be loaded into RAM, and whenever it is loaded into RAM, the starting address of that will be taken care by your control unit. It will be stored into a register called PC, process program control. Okay, and it loads appropriate CPU registers and instructs your CPU to start it. Okay, so who's giving instructions to your control unit? It is the operator. Okay, how it is doing it? After allocating the memory for a process to be executed into your RAM, okay, it instructs the control unit to start executing. I mean, instruct further. It has to instruct further ALU. Okay, so control unit and ALU is called as the CPU. Okay, so every time the CPU always looks for the execution of your statements present inside your RAM. Okay, so in between you have cache also. CPU has some kind of a registers. So first, whenever it starts executing a kind of instruction, it will check. It has to execute some kind of instruction. Okay, it has to check whether that instruction is present in the cache. If it is there, then execute. If it is not there, it will look for. So if it is, see why it will not look for a hard disk and all, because I already told you CPU is too fast. Okay, so your hard disk is too slow. If it is too slow, it's a very difficult to, I mean, communicate with this fellow. Understand? So it takes huge amount. It wastes CPU time. So you CPU always treats as waste of time for it. So that's why they arrange your complete architecture of your computer like this. Okay. So this fellow and this fellow will handle your computer. Now coming to your memory. Memory. We talked about your OS. You talked about your control unit, and we talked about your ALU. Right. So memory. There is a two kinds of memory. Generally three kinds. Okay. First is main memory. Second is secondary memory. Third one is tertiary storage device. Okay. The main memory again divided into RAM and ROM. Secondary memory is only the kind of the hard disk, okay, or the external memories also can keep as a part of either this or this external memory like your flash cards or USB. Right. Tertiary storage is basically is called tape, a tape drive. So why they use this is olden days they used to do. So if you have big databases there, they want to back up, right? So they used to use tape. Now is, I mean, we'll discuss about your. I told you what is a RAM, what is a ROM. Okay, what a ROM contains is some kind of a important information to start your piece, like your bootstrap loader will be present. Okay, so this is how. So the difference between this and this is present in its make, okay, how it is made, okay, and because of the nature of the things that used to make it, right, this is volatile. Okay, this is persistence, permanent, permanent. So, so whatever the content that's there in this, even though you switch off, will be there. Let's say your bootstrap loader will be always there. Okay, even though switch off. When you switch on again, it will start to start your piece. But whenever you start executing your program, right, when you switch off, the contents of whatever the present inside this will get lost. Understand? So that's a difference between this. And the other difference is the perspective of speed, both are same almost. But the kind of the make that they use inside, right? So it will be very different. Okay. Because of that nature, they divide into volatile and persistent storage. Secondary, but even though it is a persistent, is a very fast as compared to your secondary. Your hard disk also persistent storage, but it's a too slow. That's what the difference is. Right. Coming to the definitions, I mean, please go through all this. Your primary memory is classified into ROM, read-only, random access. He is talking about. So please go through all the simple stuff. Whatever I explained will be there. Okay. So ROM. Okay, it is a permanent memory which hold a data permanently. Hence, it is called a non-volatile. That's what I told you. So permanent means a non-volatile. This is a volatile. This is a non-volatile. Okay. This is called persistent storage. Okay. Classification of ROM. ROM will be classified into three types: DROM, EEPROM, EEPROM. I mean, olden days they used to use one of these two things. Okay. Nowadays they used to use only this. So what is a full programmable read-only memory? Okay. The one is erasable programmable read-only. Means the contents you can erase it by using some kind of a program. Okay. This is electrically erasable programming read-only. So it has its own purpose. So based on the kind of the PC that you have, okay, these things will. Next is RAM. RAM is divided into dynamic and static RAM. Dynamic RAM is too slow, I think. Static RAM is a very fast. This requires some kind of a refresh for every milliseconds. I mean, refresh means it requires some kind of a continuous input of power. If you don't input that power within that specified time limit, right, the contents will get erased. Okay. That's what it is. I mean, this is what the difference is. Dynamic RAM and static RAM. The information stored in DRAM has to be refreshed after every few milliseconds. Otherwise, it is erased. That's what I told you, right? But whereas SRAM does not need to be refreshed. That's why the storage is very fast. Okay? But as it is very fast, it is too cost. Okay? So more speed. With more speed, you have to put more money. Okay? Understand? That's what the difference is between this. So if it is a more speed, the speed also here you cannot distinguish much basically. But this dynamic RAM is a bit slower as compared to static. That's what. So this dynamic RAM made up of a MOS transistors. This fellow is made up of a flip-flop. These things, okay, how it is made up of, how to design your flip-flops, okay, you will study as a part of the subject called switching theory. Okay, so switching theory is a base, okay, to understand all this. Okay. Here we are studying just to make you a refresh, okay, to know what kind of stuff. So this is also very important. Once you understand switching theory, okay, how your circuits are made and all right, then you study computer architecture. And organ. So whatever you are done within this 10-15 minutes, right? This is what it is. How a computer architecture is designed, how it is organized. Who is going to organize? I mean, about all these fellows. Okay. So, but you will study in detail about all those things. The functionality of control unit will be there as a part of 2 chapters. Okay. ALU will be there as a part of 1-2 chapters. RAM will be for a memory, 1 chapter will be there. How the instructions will be converted from input to the output. Okay. Internally, you will study all those. That's why this subject, okay, this subject and this subject is a too much, okay, core of PS. Understand? So you guys has to understand all these things internally, how they are really implemented. This is too important in perspective of GATE also, GATE exam. okay, graduate aptitude test engineering. Okay. So this is used for what do you call going for a PG in IITs and regulators. Okay. So this is a very good scoring subject in context of a. So even whatever I am telling you, once you study any kind of a subject, go to a chapter, study it, go to its exercises to solve it. If you're not able to solve it, you're not understood it. That's there's no other. Okay, ma. So please understand all this. So switching theory you have to study properly, computer architecture and organization. This in turn, okay, will lead to operating system. So you study just 5 minutes of your operating system, what is function. You have a subject on it. Okay, right? Subject. So there is a lot of linkages. So once you understand all this stuff properly, you will understand your Java properly. Okay, because it's talking about your thread creations, processes, and all. So how you will understand all those concepts until unless you understand all this. That's how there is a lot of linkages. Remember this. If you fail to understand something, it becomes a very tough for you to understand the rest of the subject until unless you refresh the previous. So these are the kind of the prerequisites for your operating system. In order to understand OS properly, it's a very easy for you to understand OS if you understand your computer architecture, because this OS is going to fit into this. How this is made? This is made because of understand. I hope you guys understand. Okay? So that's how there's a lot of connection across okay your subjects of a computer. So you guys is going to design flip flops in your switching table. After designing flip flops, see it's clearly mentioned your RAM is made up of your flip flop. So using a flip flop, you can generate some kind of a circuit. So the combination of circuit becomes your RAM. Next, arithmetic and logic unit is talking about what it is, how it is, how fast it is, the access time of resist. He is talking about resistors. They're typically 5 to 10 times faster than main. So that's why they use resist. But your ALU is very fast even compared to your resistors. But still, there's no other go. They are trying to map to the speed of your CPU. And your evolutions of your computers architecture is changing daily by. So you guys are getting now i7. Going forward, you get i9. Okay, and new technologies are coming into your computer architecture. I forgot it. Right, control unit. The memory, arithmetic, logic unit, input, output units store and process information and perform input and output operations. Operations of these units are coordinated by using control. That's what I told you. So all the operations of your complete computer will be under the control. Control unit acts as a central to computer system, which sends control signals to other units and sends their state. That's what I explained previously. Okay, that's what about your control unit. You can study this. Output unit also, please go through it. So operating system, again, I explained this. The operating system is a complex software which manages and allocates resources of a computer to process. That's why it is called a resource manager and resources. The resources of a computer such as the memory, input unit, output units, softwares, mouse, keyboards are managed by your operating system. OS also provides user interface. Okay, there are two types of user interface there. The first is graphical user interface and command line. So whatever you are seeing here, this is a GUI. Whatever I do like this, right? This is a command line. This is also OS. Okay, whatever I type DAR, it displaying the current directory, right? So that's what he is trying to mention. Okay, so what it is, graphical user interface is what your desktop, and command line interface. This is what command line is called command. With the GUI interface, the user interacts with the hardware such as a mouse, keyboard, and memory. See, I'm interacting right with the mouse. I'm interacting with the memory. This is what my memory. This is hard disk, right? Hard disk is divided into so many stuff. Axis. That's what it's trying to say. Yes or no? Right? So that's what it is. Next is command line interface. Okay, this is called prompt. What it is prompt? This is called prompt. It's prompting, right? So it's a prompting, somewhere blinking, right? It's called a prompt. It is used to give commands to OS to do a particular task. Okay, example, creating a folder in secondary storage. So this is also is kind of an interface between you and your hard disk. So where it is in hard disk, it is in the C drive. Yeah. I can go to D also. I can switch, type DR, okay, enter into SND, okay, DR. So I am doing what, interacting with my memory. Who is helping me to interact with this memory? Your operating system. This is a kind of the interface it is providing. Your operating system is providing this kind of interface to interact with your memory. Okay, that's how it is. The next is we'll talk about your algorithm. Okay. So right. What is an algorithm? Algorithm is a step-by-step process. Step-by-step concrete process to solve a given problem. So step-by-step concrete process means what? See, how to understand your algorithms is given a problem, okay, given a problem, you have to solve this problem using any kind of a language, okay, programming. Okay, how to do it? You need to have some kind of a process to do. Okay, so your algorithm helps in doing it. Your algorithm, what it will do, it is help in dividing your given problem into so many steps, okay, step-by-step process. So if you see, if you want to construct some kind of an house, you directly go there and do it, right? No, you don't do it that way. There is a process to do it. You design first how you are going to, how much area you want to use it, how many number of bedrooms will be there. Like this, you plan for it, right? Similarly, your algorithm is also plan to write your software. Okay, that's why it's called step-by-step concrete process to solve a given problem. So your algorithms are not dependent on any kind of a language. It has its own construct. Construct means some kind of a annotations or the words existing in it, right? Using those things, you can vaguely solve your problem, like your house plan. Right? So house plan means I want to do this first, next. You will assume yours. But here it is a concrete process. Concrete process means step by step you can write it. Those steps you can convert into any kind of a programming. If you want to convert that into C, you have to know the syntax and semantics of C. If you want to solve that using C++, you have to know just the syntax and semantics of C++. So Java means you can write in a Java also. That's why your algorithm is independent of your programming language. Okay. So what are the kind of the constructs that you can have? We'll see that. Okay, you can study this. An algorithm is a step-by-step procedure approach to solve a given problem. Algorithm has a finite sequence of steps. That's what a concrete process is, step-by-step concrete process. Algorithm has a finite sequence of steps. Each step shall explicitly and ambiguous. Okay, this concrete means unambiguous. Concrete means what? It should be unambiguous. Okay, that's what he is trying to say. Okay. Algorithms are not specific to any programming language. An algorithm can implement it in any programming language. Okay, so an algorithm contains what? So this algorithm talks about steps to solve the given problem, right? So it will be having some kind of a input. Second, after taking input, you will be having steps. Steps. Second point is how many number of steps you write those many steps. Next is your output. Example, you execute you play a lot of games. So how they design the games, you give some kind of input to it, right? Then it will execute its steps, your game. Then you find the next stage where you go. So because of some kind of inputs, it will reach from one state to the other state, your game also, right? That's what it is. So based on the algorithms only, everyone develops their program. Okay. So characteristics of algorithms, it will be having input. An algorithm generally receives an input. Output is an algorithm generally produces an output. Everybody knows this. Steps. Each step has to perform a precise task and shall be explicitly. So what are the uses of algorithm? Okay. Once I write my algorithm, okay, once I complete my algorithm for a given problem, let us say problem one is, I have written algorithm one for this to solve it. I have to show this to somebody. I shown that, and he given some kind of inputs to your algorithm one, saying that, boss, if your step five will be has to change like this, then only it will. Then what you can do, you can change it. Okay, that's why it's called algorithms are refined process. Before you start coding it, you have to refine your algorithm so that whatever the kind of the input you give it, it will get your output properly, whatever as per your expectation. So in between you have steps, right? Those steps you can refine, okay, till you get your expected for a given input. Okay? That's why it is a refined process. So till you get your concrete design of your given problem, okay, you can refine your. After you feel that your algorithm is a fine, then you can code it using any kind of a programming language that you feel that you are the expert. Okay, that's all. So it says what are the uses of algorithm. Facilitate easily development of program. So you can vaguely type, vaguely find out the steps or decipher your steps, what to do. Okay. Then iterative refinement. I mean, you can do refine your algorithm by giving inputs and assess whether it is you are getting your proper output or not. Okay. Easy to convert a program. It's very easy to convert your program because each and every algorithm has its own constructs basically. The way your programming languages, right, have some kind of a construct to solve your problem. Right? Similarly, algorithms also have its own construct to solve your problem. So those constructs you will convert into your independent programming language in which you want to solve. And review is easy. Why you review it? To do refine it. Okay. Review means you go to your friend and show him saying that is this okay now. He reviews it. He look into it and assess it. That's called review. Once he feels that it is a fine, then done. Otherwise, you have to refine. Okay, that's what the uses of it. Next, steps in writing an algorithm. First, how to do it. First, you need to identify the inputs and outputs that is required to solve your problem. Okay. Then identify any data and constants required to solve it. Okay, what he's trying to tell, first to write your algorithm, what is the key? First is input is required, you need to know output also. Then to get your output, okay, you have to process your input. So you need to know what are the steps to process your input. That's what he's trying to tell. Identify any other data and constants required to solve the problem. Identify what needs to be computed. That's what I'm telling you. This is a computed means input has to be converted into output. How to do it? Okay. Then write that. Okay. This is how you have to do it. So this is an example it is given. Find the average of three numbers. So every algorithm begins with a begin, okay, and you can write the other way also. I'll let you. You can write algorithm, algorithm name. You can write input. You can write output. If you require any kind of a data structures, you can write it. Okay. Then any kind of prerequisites. Okay. You can write here. We'll come to know all these things when you're studying your data structure. But for this current C language, you just know what is the input is required, what is the output is required to write your algorithm. Steps. Okay, first one to solve it. Okay, this is the steps to. That's what it is. But this is also fine. Begin. Okay. Okay. What it is? Find the average of three numbers. So you know what is the input, right? Input is three numbers. That's what is this? Input is three numbers. Output is average. Average of three numbers. Right? So how to do it? I mean, I know what is input, what is output. I know what are the steps. I have to just compute my sum. Okay. Number one plus number two plus number three. Okay. Then I have to compute average. Equal to sum by three. That's the steps. This is input, this stuff. This is what your simple. I mean, in order to make you understand, we are given the simple example. So accept three numbers, say number one, number two, number three. Steps, add these things and store in the sum. N1 plus N2 plus N3 is sum is equal to this. Okay. Then divide sum by 3 and find the average. So once you divide sum by 3, right, you get your average, display the average. This is step 4, end. And he refined how to see. This is a vague way of writing. This is an English language. Okay. So algorithm also the same way. Okay. This is also you can tell that's an algorithm. This is a refined, as a better one. Okay. So how to refine it? Accept three numbers. So there is a read. Okay. Read number one, number two, number three. Then this is a mathematical way of representing your. This is a human understandable way of writing. Both are okay. Both are algorithms. Okay. So read number one or N1, N2, N3. Sum is equal to N1 plus N2 plus N3. Average is equal to sum by 3. Display. Yeah. This is how you guys write your algorithm. Okay. So it requires C. Now it is a simple one. That's why it becomes easy for you. But if it is a complex problem needs to be solved, so you require some kind of a constructs to be supported to write your algorithm. What are those constructs is mentioned. Different pattern algorithms are. So sequential constructs are there, selectional constructs, okay, iteration. Okay. Sequential means this is a sequence. This is a sequence. One by one. Okay. Sequential constructs execute the program in the order in which they appear in the program. See, after this I know. Okay. So there is no other way of doing it. That's why these kind of instructions, which are simple in nature, right? These are called sequential. Next, the selection. Based on some kind of a condition, okay, if you keep some kind of a if I want to display the output only when the average is greater than 30. So how to do it? You have to have some kind of support of construct in your algorithm. If average is greater than 30, then display average, then end if. Okay. So if average is greater than this, then only it will display. Otherwise, it won't display. That's what these kind of the constructs, okay, has to be there to write your complex problem in an algorithm. So you will find this kind of if and similar kind of constructs in your any kind of a program. So it becomes your life becomes very easy to convert your algorithm to program. Okay, that's how it is. Okay. This is what selectional statement. Selectional constructs control the see understand. Selectional constructs control the flow of the statement execution in order to achieve the required outcome. It controls how it controls this way. It checks your value. If average, whatever the I computed, if it is greater than 30, then only it will print. If it is a 20, it won't print it. 20 greater than 30 false, so it won't print it. That's why it controls. Selectional statements are the conditional statements. Okay, what it will do? Control the flow of statements of execution. That's what is clear. Okay. Next, iterational statement. Iterational constructs. Okay, they if I want to execute, let us say these two statements for 5 times. That is okay, 5 times. How to do it is using iterational or loops. There. Okay. See, there are iterational statements are the loop. Iterational constructs are used when a part of the program is to be executed several times. See, that's what I told you. If I want to execute this and this 5 times, so you have to have a iterational statement to the loops to be supported by your algorithm. About these minimal things that is required to understand or required to write your algorithm from a given problem. Given a problem, what you have to do, you have to convert your problem into algorithm. Once you have refined final algorithm, you can convert this algorithm into program. That's what it is. Okay. So in the next class, we'll see a few more examples on how to, given a problem, how to write your algorithm. Okay. And this is a human understandable design. Your algorithm is human understandable design. There is a graphical representation of your algorithm also. That's called flowchart. Okay. This is what they use, some kind of a symbols to notate what is your input, what is your output, what is the processing, your instructions, everything will be the part of it. So you can convert your algorithm into flowchart to make the end user understand in a better way. Okay, so these are the things that we'll study as a part of your list. So as of now, we completed a block diagram of computer, okay, characteristics of your computers, types of your computers, okay, computer language is also a bit we covered, right? Then we entered into algorithm. See, problem solving, program development steps means he's talking about algorithms. How you are going to solve your problems using this or this. How to come to know this? This is the next step. After this, then only you will do it. Okay. So problem solving and program development steps are the things which are talking about algorithms only. Unnecessarily they kept this to make you confused. Okay. So we'll in the next class we'll complete this and this. Okay. So we have class tomorrow morning. So mostly the algorithms and the flowcharts will complete. So this is introduction to computers is the one which we have to complete in the first week. So we'll mostly complete, and Saturday around 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I'll inform you through your WhatsApp group. Okay, we'll have some kind of a quiz, but I'll not consider the marks that this week quiz. Okay, ma'am. So why? Because you need to know how to interact with your. You need to know what is the quizzes and all. Okay, so just for the sake of knowing what is the quizzes and all, right? We'll conduct your quiz this stuff. I hope you guys understood all this. If you're not understood, please let me know. And we are time up for your class. Let me download your attendance. Right. I'm done with your class, ma'am. Thank you, one and all. You can leave if you don't have any queries. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Otherwise, you can
Thank
stay
you,
here
sir.
and ask.
Thank you, sir.